The address is 412, 414, and 416 East Adams. The address is 412, 414, 416 East Adams. The fact, however, is that it's really a building that was built in 1890, which is sandstone and brick. A building that was built in the early teens, which you're standing in. And then a building behind these two buildings being nominally 20 feet wide by some 80 feet deep. Then a building built behind these two, which was built in 1930. So it's a collection of both architectural flavors and era. And the magic here is that the building has been maintained, and the original character, the original quality of its construction is intact. So you get to experience the uniqueness of the 1890s, the early 1900s, 19s, which is a bit of a deco flavor, and then a real brutal concrete addition in the 30s that addressed the function of accommodating printing equipment that weighed literally tens of tons. It's easier to cover up existing construction than it is, literally structural particularly, than it is to take away and then add on. So often we find in the rehabilitation, remodeling of the old downtown structures, is that the old is there, it's just been covered over with layers of stuff. So this is unique insofar as it's not been covered over. It's all here and you can see it, and it's some of it's been out in the open. In 19 teens, there was a 2-story addition on the back side of this building. On the limestone building, they built a 2-story addition. Okay? Now, you'll see why we know that when we move up through. Now you're in the 1930s. 1930, this was vacant. We're behind the 1890s building. This is a light well that they introduced between the 1890 building and the 1930 addition to maintain natural light into the hotel that was still in operation. There's windows on the back side. So they introduced the light well to gain natural light into this 1930s addition, but also again maintain the natural light into the hotel. Like a tank. Literally, no, seriously, tens of thousands of tons of printing equipment were in here. And that's why the construction spoke to what it was being used for.
Look at these beams.
So we intend to leave, obviously clean all this out, but we intend to leave the ceiling concrete, and we intend by using indirect lighting and spiral duct to allow that aesthetic to be incorporated into the remodeled aesthetic of the finished space. Again, we're trying to allow the people who visit the building and the people who occupy the building to experience the original historic aesthetic of literally 1890s through 1930 construction and architecture. And if you look closely, you'll see here where there were windows, they took the windows out, and you see where the brick has been patched in? That's where that limestone sill was embedded into the wall, and they took that out and cut the floor down so that they could create one continuous floor plate from side to side. So the building, you can read about the history of it, but you can also carefully look at the architecture and the construction, and you can see what's kind of happened over the period of time from its construction and literally over the course of 40, 50 years. The Cliff Hotel, which is the second and third floor of this 1890 building, opened in 1890 plus or minus, and operated as a 2-story hotel until, best we can tell, around 1950, right at 1960. They shut the hotel down, took the furniture out, left it. It's all intact. 1890s construction, you're going to see it. It's unfortunately encapsulated in 1 1/4 inch pigeon home, but it's there and it's really cool. So.